did my Kickstarter, I've actually done 2 Kickstarters. The first one was a failure, but the second one was successful. But before, and having failed the first one, it was pretty scary when I tried again on the second one. But I created a spreadsheet, and that kind of spreadsheet is really tricky because it's really hard to calculate how many people are likely to buy how many rewards and which ones have narrower profit margins, and it's pretty wild and difficult to do all of that math. But I made my projections, I checked them over and over again to see how accurate or how realistic they were, and I did basically 2 kinds of projections. One where things go well, and one where things go terribly. And I tried to figure out what is the minimum amount of success I need to pull this off. And then I also considered that, well, most likely there will be unforeseen costs or tragic setbacks. Always assume there will be tragic setbacks. Never plan for the best case scenario. Never just assume things are going to go well. For me, after all my projections and calculations, I figured, well, if it's successful and I end up having to fulfill this, shipping all of these printed games to all of these people overseas, right? By my worst case projections, it looks like I could get by with this amount of money. That's the amount of money I set my fundraiser for. I raised about $8,000, and I figured I would need at least $5,000 in order to ship all of those things. But I also basically considered to myself, well, what is the most amount of money that I would be willing to lose on this project and still feel comfortable with myself? And the figure that came to mind when I was making my projections, well, if I were to lose $2,000, that to me would be an acceptable loss, because I really want this game to exist and I want it to be in those people's hands, and I want to be able to say that I had a successful Kickstarter. Well, after shipping out all the games, which took a lot longer than I expected and was a lot more work than I expected, and after calculating all the setbacks and unexpected costs, can you guess how much I ended up losing on that project? Basically about $2,000. But I was super stoked and super happy because I actually committed to something and did it until the end. And so that will forever be to me a success. And I feel really proud of myself of having predicted that I might have that kind of loss. And it's funny that the worst case scenario ended up being the actual scenario. But I'm also hopeful because your first Kickstarter is the first one. The ones after that, you're starting to build an audience, you have some people. So I'm hoping that my future ones will be a success if I commit to something like that again.